In this special reInvent edition of All in the Field, we're streaming to you live via AWS On Air.
And tonight we're going to be talking to our friends from Deere and from Farm Dog, who's a developer Deere partner, and discussing precision agriculture and why APIs and AWS enable producers to own their data and insights.
And we're going to have our special moderators, Nathan Pugh and Ronnie Eichler, along to answer all of your questions as you shoot them in to us on AWS On Air.
There's a lot of insight sharing ahead on this special edition, AWS On Air, all in the field.
AWS Agriculture Live. Hi, I'm Karen Hildebrand, and I am a fourth-generation farmer and the tech leader for our agriculture industry vertical at AWS.
And I'm Matt Wolff, a solutions architect with AWS out of Chicago. I work with agriculture companies in the Midwest.
Great, let's get started into our field note.
Awesome. All right, so we just have had a phenomenal 2.5 weeks so far of reInvent. I'm excited to see all the announcements they come across on Slack for me all day. New product features, both in machine learning, products like AWS Panorama, also some new IoT features, which I know Rachel really enjoys. I've been reading up a little bit on Greengrass 2.0. And then hot off the presses today, I was really excited to see the Amazon location service, which developers can use to easily create maps and location awareness within those apps.
Absolutely. And we have essays like yourself all around the world who specialize in agriculture, who are getting together every week after all of these announcements and figuring out how we can bring those right to our agriculture customers and get started building.
I know we got exciting few weeks and months, getting through the holidays and into quarter one. We're going to be meeting with customers and going through all these new services and technologies that are getting introduced. It's like the gift that keeps on giving year round.
I love your holiday analogies in there. That's awesome. And in addition, if you have any questions today, we have our amazing moderators on, and they are ready to answer those live, as well as they'll be popping those questions over to us so that we can answer them live on air. So please hashtag AWS on air with your questions, be they for Scott, LaRon, or Matt or I.
Great. All right, well, let's go ahead and bring in our first guest, and we're happy to bring to the show our special guest from John Deere, Scott Fagenbush. Scott, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Fagenbush Farms, and your role with Deere?
Yeah, hi Karen, hi Matt. Thanks for having me. So a little about me. I grew up on a farm in western Iowa, and about 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to start my own farm, and that now takes up a lot of my free time. I have been with John Deere for 22 years, and currently I am the engineering manager of the Cloud Data Platform team at John Deere Intelligent Solutions Group.
Awesome.
All right, Scott. So today you have an audience that is both agriculture as well as technologists. Could you maybe help us to convey to the audience kind of what the scale is that John Deere is working with, and maybe, how much data are you able to collect on behalf of farmers? Maybe you could give us some context and perspective around that.
Sure. Well, we connect to a fleet of around 350,000 vehicles and growing. The vehicles range in type from agriculture, construction, forestry, and others. We use cellular gateways on board the machines for connectivity. We use IoT technology to connect many of those vehicles to the cloud. And we ingest many petabytes of data to provide our customers insights into their machine performance, operational performance, produce and manage our own GPS satellite guidance receivers and in-cab displays. And we can guide our machines through the field with much higher accuracy than most of us individual consumers are used to. Besides self-driving the machines through the field, we can also automate tasks for them, like raising and lowering the implement, automating the turning function at the end of the field, turning implements on and off, when they reach the end of a row or an area they've previously covered already. We can also pair two machines together in the harvest operation to make operating as a team more precise and more productive. So ultimately, we stream millions of sensor values to the cloud, and we add additional context to those sensor values. We strive to provide our customers with a view of their equipment, their operations, that helps them make better decisions and ultimately be the most profitable and most sustainable.
Yeah. There's a lot of data streaming, and I know also you guys do a lot of geospatial work. There's the telemetry data that's on board the equipment, let alone all the manufacturing that you as a company does and all the data that's there. So when people kind of think about Deere, they should definitely be thinking about, digital innovation happening at scale.
Absolutely. So Scott, let's dive a little bit deeper into the technology. Obviously, based on what you just described, there's a lot of teams within Deere that are working on digital innovation. Can you tell us a little bit about what team you're on? And I always ask this question because I think all of us that work in ag have kind of a favorite project or a project that we're most proud of because it really changed either what the industry could do or what we personally know was really important. So maybe you could share that as well.
Yeah, sure. So I manage the data platform engineering group, and our technology suite resides in the AWS cloud. John Deere started connecting remotely to our machines over 10 years ago, actually. In the beginning, there was a lack of standards and protocols for transmitting machine data with accuracy and reliability. Out of necessity, John Deere created our own protocols and systems to securely connect to our own data centers. But in 2015, we made the decision to move to the AWS cloud, and we haven't looked back. We now use a full suite of AWS services at massive scale. And we now take advantage of industry standard data formats and protocols as well, like ADAPT and AEMP and MQTT, for instance. So what am I most proud of? I would say I'm most proud of our team taking on the enormous challenge of moving a large legacy system to the cloud and then refactoring the entire architecture to take full advantage of all of the benefits that cloud computing, and specifically AWS, has to offer. We are now able to innovate and scale far beyond our previous capacity. So.
I think that's a great point. The scale, and Deere operates really at a global scale. What kind of things do you kind of have to keep in mind that you have to design for because of that?
Yeah, good question. Primarily, we have to consider the different rates of data capture and frequencies based on machine and operation type, arranging that data to be analyzed temporally and spatially. There are many tools available to handle these different aspects of the data, but the key characteristic that will challenge the best of architectures really is that of massive scale. Dealing with large amounts of transactions per second is not too difficult anymore, but handling large volumes of transactions, which can also be individually large in size, is another challenge entirely.
Yeah, and I think that also kind of plays into the fact that there's going to be operations happening at different places geographically throughout the year, right? Our growing season is over, but it's also a growing season in the Southern Hemisphere. And I know I'd rather be there and be warm. But can you tell us a little bit about how you designed your architecture to be kind of responsive to that global scale and the peaks or the ebbs and flows as you have operations happening?
Yeah, we are global, and at any time of the day or time of the year, really, there are operations and machines running. The AWS stack and elastic infrastructure in general provides the ability to expand and contract our systems and resources specifically to fit demand. This elastic ability is uniquely suited to the ag industry in particular, as it's very cyclical. For instance, I'll give you an example. In the seeding operation, there's a very small window of time in which farmers have to place seeds in the ground in order to maximize yield potential. So we have to expect to ingest millions of acres of seeding data into the cloud in about a 6 to 10 week time frame. And then each operation is complete, the surge kind of slows down a little bit and then ramps back up when the next operation starts off in the crop cycle. So therefore, our systems take full advantage of the ability to expand and contract as needed, regardless of where in the world the demand originates from. So,
Yeah. Another question for you here. Since we're kind of on AWS on air, which is, during reInvent, we have a broad kind of audience of technologists, not just agriculture. What kind of is the level of precision and accuracy and even latency that you can kind of tolerate across all of these operations, the multiple operations per year? Is it different for in-field operations? And what's the kind of digital thread that you see kind of being critical to enable not just the data, but ultimately the insights and the intelligent action?
Yeah. Our customers rely on a high level of accuracy and performance of John Deere equipment. Many customers will use the same guidance line for their equipment to follow year over year. So in order to produce that repeatable level of accuracy, we place corrective stations on each continent on the Earth to perform the calculations necessary to compensate for tectonic shifts and the natural movement of GPS points. So this allows us to repeatedly place the same point on the Earth with sub-inch accuracy. In terms of latency, many of John Deere's customers are not able to take advantage of reliable high-speed connectivity. It's just simply not available in the rural areas in which we mostly operate. But despite this challenge, I would say we still produce solutions that allow owners and operators to track their machines remotely. We can remotely change settings and on some of the machines. We can view in-cab displays remotely. And we can do all of this in a matter of seconds, depending on the connection.
And I think that kind of leads pretty well into a program you were telling me about, Scott, in one of our conversations, where you're really thinking about how do you develop your team. And for technologists that are really interested in working in ag, but maybe don't have an ag background, it was an interesting concept really to think about how those that are passionate about kind of nourishing the world may be able to gain that kind of agricultural expertise. Can you tell us a little bit about the program you were talking to me about? I think it's a buddy seat ride along, that ability to kind of be in the cab, even if it's virtually.
Yeah, it's a neat topic. So sure, we do have an amazing team at John Deere, but naturally many of them do not come from a farming background. But they have a passion for advanced technology and for John Deere's mission, really, to help to feed the world. So striving to make our customers, the most profitable and sustainable, I think, is what we're here to do. So it's a noble cause for sure, and our employees, as well as our unparalleled John Deere dealer channel, are absolutely the key to succeeding on John Deere's mission. So, John Deere has several programs that help employees learn more about our customers and dealers. We have customer and dealer advisory groups that provide us feedback. We have a Through Their Eyes program where some employees will get to spend weeks with customers and dealers in their cabs and at their dealerships to gain intimate knowledge of their operations. We also have weekly Customer Connect sessions where often hundreds of employees have the ability to video stream with customers while they are in the cabs of their equipment and just have a dialogue about what they like, what they don't like, answer questions they may have. These programs are all designed for John Deere employees to become more intimately familiar with our customers and ultimately build better products for them. So.
That's great. Question for you, and this is a little bit selfish, I admit. As you kind of work with AWS and specifically with some solutions architects, what do you kind of think AWS brings to the table for you guys?
Yeah, so I think I would answer this question, or I would point to innovation. So, John Deere has been in business for 183 years, and our founder, John Deere himself, famously said, if we don't continuously improve our products, then someone else will. So our heritage is built on innovation and an intimate connection with our customers. And AWS brings that innovation and customer obsession as well. So additionally, I would say that you offer, leading edge technology, global scale, and the highest level of commitment to our partnership that we depend on to put more and more powerful solutions and insights into the hands of our customers. So in short, I would say AWS helps us to continue to innovate and expand the boundaries of what is perceived to be possible.
And I think, Scott, that's really key. I know we have been launching a bunch of new services during reInvent, and it's really exciting. But your group has also been involved in a lot of betas for those new services. And that's a competitive advantage. So we're not going to talk about kind of what it is that you beta. But could you tell us maybe a little bit about why? Like, what's the benefit of being in those early programs?
Sure. So the ag and the construction industries in particular have had to endure challenging economic conditions. And these industries are also experiencing a diminishing pool of skilled operators. This all leads John Deere to continue to find new ways to help our customers be more productive with fewer resources. So these challenges and needs put back pressure on our technology stack and define faster and better capabilities for our customers. So in my view, it's imperative that we partner with AWS in their beta programs and their new service offerings to understand if there are new services to improve our system, offer new capabilities, or to provide feedback on capabilities that we need. I guess selfishly, it's a good way to leverage Amazon's customer obsession principle in our favor. So,
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And it helps our developers as well, and that's the beauty of the partnership, I think. Speaking of developing and development, I know that you guys have a program developed with Deere that enables some trusted partners into the Deere ecosystem. What's kind of the business reason for doing that, and what are some of the architecture decisions kind of behind how you guys had to do that from data security, privacy, API enablement standpoint?
Yeah, and it's great that FarmDog is here joining us as one of our partners as well. But there are many innovations. FarmDog, for instance, there are many innovations and great products developed by other software companies that our customers use. And developer.deere.com is a great way for third parties to securely connect to our platform to provide additional value. We have an annual Develop with Deere conference, as you mentioned, where third parties can come learn more about how to do this. So, and in terms of security and privacy of our customers' data, our customers own their data. They choose who to share their data with. And John Deere holds this principle with the highest level of commitment. And if anyone is interested in learning more about that, you can certainly visit johndeere.com/trust. So
awesome. Well, Scott, time's about up here. Thank you so much for your taking time with us today,
Absolutely.
talking about all your insights into precision agriculture at Deere. And we'll bring you back. We might have a little bit of time at the end of the show. We'll see for questions from the audience. But thanks so much for coming, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Let's welcome Laurent onto the show. Laurent is the founder and CEO of FarmDog, a startup which has partnered closely with the USDA and agronomists in developing their product, along with being a Develop with Deere partner. So, Laurent, welcome, and could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Of course. Thank you, Karen and Matt, for having me. So my quick background, while I didn't grow up in agriculture, one set of grandparents met while working at a corn mill, and the other owned a butcher shop together. So the ag genes are there. But my background, I come from finance, legal, consulting, work with grocery store chains on fruit and veggie supply chain, and a partner in a couple of farm-to-work restaurants in Texas.
Awesome. Why don't you tell us real quick how you actually founded FarmDog?
Yeah, so it actually came from user feedback. I had recently closed a drone startup that I had founded that didn't work out, but wanted to stay within the tech space and was pulled toward agriculture. And so I was really driving around, speaking with growers and agronomists, learning about what tech could help them. And that's how FarmDog came to be.
All right, so then you have to give us kind of the tech rundown. What data can all be captured by FarmDog? And most importantly, in all agriculture discussions, how can that be done if you have limited connectivity?
Of course. So FarmDog's focus is on capturing user inputted data and pushing out actionable data insights based off of that. So the person who's walking the field is actually looking, smelling, touching, feeling, getting into the root zone. That's the most valuable data layer for any of this from our perspective. So we focus on helping that person enter that data into FarmDog in an easy, very easy to use way, which saves them time and improves their communication. Example data points that they collect. So observation types, white fly, nutrient deficiency, whatever it may be, severity levels, photos, geomarkers. We track the path of the person walking in the field. And we've integrated with lots of other data layers such as aerial imagery, soil pesticides. When all the data that our users can analyze when they're walking the fields, we collect all that. We store that locally. The second they're back online, we send everything up into the cloud, the AWS cloud, and sync amongst all their devices and partners.
Awesome.
Cool.
Let's see. I think we have an architecture diagram that we can bring up, and you know how much I love those, Karen. So let's go ahead and bring that up, and maybe just take a couple seconds here to talk real quickly about it. And I won't ask you any too deep of technical questions.
I appreciate that. So first of all, we pride ourselves on building one of the easiest to use platforms we believe in the industry. And so the way we've done that is building out our mobile app with React Native, which is mobile hybrid platform, which means both Android and iOS. Our web dashboard is on React and Angular. On the server side, we build with Node.js, integrate that with several great partners. Of course, John Deere being one of them, CDMS, which is a pesticide label company, and GeoSys pulling all that data in. And then we run our databases off of MongoDB and then our analytics off of Postgres.
Awesome. We kind of talked earlier about FarmDog being to develop with Deere partner. And what does the open ecosystem and the API integration offer for producers? And do producers have to opt into that, or how do you see kind of the benefit for you as a startup?
Yeah, so we've been integrated with Deere for over 4 years now, and from the very beginning was a game changer for us. We went to our first Develop with Deere conference. Basically, everybody that came and asked us, "Hey, can we pull fields off of Deere into FarmDog?" The answer was yes. And then they asked us, "Do you push the FarmDog data back into Deere?" And at the time, the answer was unfortunately no. But we very quickly learned that what the user wants is not to deal with 20 different platforms. And so integrating with Deere allows us to integrate those data layers so that they can use their preferred interface. And then also from a distribution perspective, working with Deere has helped us immensely. Not only do we have dealer users, but also there are dealers across the US and Canada who effectively serve as a distribution channel for us.
Yeah, and Laurent, I know I first heard about FarmDog actually from the general manager of GVE in my hometown, Nathan Reimer. And he was sharing, coming back from the 2019 Develop with Deere conference, hit the strategic partners and integration points with Deere that he felt would be beneficial to producers in his area. And so I'm curious, as you scale, how has that been enabled with AWS? And was that more kind of organic scaling, or how did that scaling happen for FarmDog?
Yeah, it's all the above. First of all, my favorite stories are when somebody hears about FarmDog from somebody else. Those are always the best, obviously. But in terms of scaling with AWS, I'll put it this way. I'm the business guy on the team, and the best stamp of approval that I can get is that my tech team meets deadlines, they build according to design, and the users at the end of the day don't complain. And since using AWS, I've been able to check that box each and every time. As we've grown to over 2 million acres in the US and Canada across a wide variety of crop types, as we've been working with Deere dealers and just really overall word of mouth, like you said, Karen, that's been the greatest part is we're seeing these clusters of users appear in areas that we've never actively targeted. So we've got clusters in Western Canada, and as I tell people, I'd love to go visit. They only invite me during the winter. I'm waiting for the summer invitation. But it's amazing how we've got users up there, and we've never actively targeted. And so really, all this has AWS has enabled all this, again, by virtue of the tech team being able to build what our users want and building it right.
So let's double click on that a little bit and talk to me about new features that you guys are building around sustainability and working to kind of empower, farmers to participate in the new economy, driven by sustainability and data trails.
Yeah, so awesome, because that's what I get really excited talking about this. So as I mentioned, we started with building out, a digital notebook essentially that saves people time, improves their communication. But while we're doing that, we're building out this database of observations in the field. And similar to Scott and Deere, our users own their data. We don't share this with anybody, but some of the features that we're building out to push out towards them are a fewfold. So hyperlocal treatment efficacy. Because our users enter into FarmDog what the severity is of different observations in their field, and then they enter into FarmDog what applications they've applied in the field, we can compare before and post application to see if that application worked. We can look at what we're seeing here as operational insights. We can see when users go out into the field, given that it's almost a gamification of, hey, grower Johnny, you visited 100 fields and collected 1,000 observations, but also start to comparing when folks are visiting the fields. When is the best time to be out there to be efficient from an operations perspective? And then the last thing that this is the efficacy that I had mentioned. The last thing that I'm really excited about is the sustainability certification. We've got breadcrumbs, obviously, in our dashboard, in our software that allows us to see the actions that our users take. By virtue of that, we can see if the user took the steps needed to get to a sustainable decision. Right? A lot of folks talk about sustainability, but we're all challenged in defining what sustainability is, and that's not FarmDog's position to say what it is or isn't. But what we can say is if our users visited the field X number of times, which then allowed them to get to an informed decision. We can see if our users, for example, looked at weather information before they made a recommendation to apply fertilizer or pesticide to make sure that chemical gets to where it needs to get at the right time without being washed away, for example.
I think that's really cool. And I know that we could talk for hours here. But in the interest of the fact that this is a live show and we only have a few minutes left, let's bring Scott back on screen and let's see if we have some viewer questions for all of the chat segment in our tweet stream. So let's go check those out. Matt, you're always better at reading handles.
Let me see if I can find one here, Karen. Hold on. Oh, here's. I don't know the answer to this. Maybe Scott will, or Laurent as well. What is the typical farm size? Any of you happen to know?
Yeah, Laurent, I'll answer, and perhaps you have one too. So, a typical it's all over the board, as you might imagine, but a typical farm size is 2,000 to 5,000 acres. And by the way, which contains hundreds of millions of individual plants. But we process data from field sizes or farm sizes that are under 1,000 acres or hectares to tens of thousands of acres all over the world.
Awesome. Well, I think we have to wrap things up here. We're just about out of time. So I really want to thank Scott and Laurent for joining us today on the episode. This brings us to the end. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate that.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a reminder,
all right, this brings us to the end.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Karen. Brings us to the end of our season with All in the Field AWS Agriculture Live.
As a reminder, all of our previous episodes are publishing to YouTube, so go check them out there. Hashtag All in the Field to keep in touch with Matt and I, or find us on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and reInvent still is going on. There's plenty of awesome content still remaining, and Wave 2 in January.
And we're not done for the day. Please join us for our special session. We have a final episode in a few hours from now, I think 3 hours from now, where we're joined by Grove, a division of New Skin. So we'll be covering animal feed and controlled environment agriculture.
Awesome. So after you check out the other great sessions, and we'll wind down reInvent 2020, we hope to see you a little bit more here on All in the Field.
AWS Agriculture Live.